now. So, hi everyone, this is Crystal from Katie Coachin, and I am so happy to have my first live on Facebook with Tess. Yeah, Success Over Suicide's her brand. So I'm gonna pause right there and just kind of let you introduce yourself, and then kind of talk about like why we chose the topic, why it's important, and I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and we'll just ping pong off each other if that's cool.
That's awesome, Kristen. Thank you so much for having me on your platform. I'm really excited to be here. I'm just honored that you even asked me to join and just share my journey, because I think if we just all shared our story just a little bit more, it'll spread some more healing. So like she said, I'm Tess, and I'm the founder of Success Over Suicide, which is a brand that's promoting self-awareness, self-love, and appreciation. And our slogan is that you can succeed over the suicide of your mental health, goals, and even your own life. So our goal is to make sure people are aware. First of all, we want to make sure we outline and create that foundation of who you are, not who people told you to be, but who you are inside, that person who you can't even control. Like, it's who you are. Because unfortunately, people are taking their own lives. And I know it's not all due to one reason, but some reasons are depression, anxiety, feelings of not like you feel like you belong, and feeling like you're a burden, and it's just easier if you're not here. But the brand is here to make sure you know, and everybody else know, that you belong, you have a purpose and a mission to accomplish. That was the whole purpose you were born. And it's about being aware of those daily decisions that help you become more of yourself, and being able to not make decisions that become less of yourself. So yeah, that's why we're here today.
I love that. So just as insight, I was able to meet with Tess just by networking on social media, and it's been pretty cool to just meet people that just are engaging with things that hit home to them. This is one of them. The whole suicide topic. I've been hitting on a lot of different things this past month and last month, and have gotten like pretty close bonds with people just based off of connecting with mental health. So I love what you're doing. I gravitated towards your content because that's exactly what I was focusing on this month, especially come August with my men's group. So again, thank you for coming on. Where are you from again? Just so everybody kind of knows where you are.
ATL, good old ATL. So It's hot right now. It's almost 100 degrees.
Yeah. So would you say that, I mean, suicide's pretty, nationwide, obviously, it doesn't discriminate. But for those who aren't from Atlanta, or, I've never been there, for instance. So what is like that mental health and suicide? What is that like? I don't know what I'm trying to ask here. What does mental health look like there, let's say? In your city? Is it prevalent? Is it rampant right now? Like, how would you kind of describe that?
So that's an interesting question, because I feel like awareness is everything, right? You can just, if you're not aware of something, you can be like, oh, nothing's going on, right? But if you are aware, you're like, oh yeah, we booming over here. So I know there are several initiatives such as NAMI, the National Association of Mental Illness, that we have several chapters here. And then we also have different meetups that's centered around mental health awareness and LGBTQIA acceptance, because that's a big group of people who are impacted by mental illness or suicide ideation. So we do have meetups, and we do have NAMI groups, as well as different initiatives. We have different people putting on events to promote mental health. Like I'm going to be putting on another event here soon, coming on in Atlanta, where we can talk, making it more of a social, and just talking about the things, like, you know what I mean? Because I know I went to a conference recently, and I don't know, have you ever heard a grown man weep?
Oh,
like, really like saw. And I'm not saying to point out a man or anything. It was just, I never had seen it, where you can, it's just like a, so there are conferences, and I want to create places where people can feel and make sure we can have these conversations, because some of us have been around our family and we don't talk about the things that really bother us. So then when we get in these spaces where we ask these questions and create a safe space, it really makes people just weep. And that's what we need to do. So yeah, that's what's going on in Atlanta. It's a lot of different things that you can take part in for sure.
That's really good. I feel like that's also part of the reason why I'm doing this as well here, because we have a lot of stuff in Philadelphia too. The heroin epidemic is like rampant here, and mental illness is it's really bad, right? So it's not to say like it it's selective by city or state or town or anything. It's everywhere. But here, like, because heroin is, we have one of the biggest transportation I guess hubs here. So mixed with the mental health, it's pretty bad. But a lot of people don't know everything we're doing to prevent help and prevent people from staying in that headspace. So it's good to hear when we have all these organizations and programs in place, because people don't really know that. They only see what they see on the news.
Right. You feel like it's not places that care about you or who have these topics, but they are. And in Atlanta too, to speak to that, I mean, it's a big drug scene here. I mean, it's the party place. It's that place. It's another hub between the Floridas and then up north New York and Philly. So yeah, we definitely have a big drug epidemic. Unfortunately, I'm actually partnering, thankfully, with people who were addiction recovery, thankfully. So it's really cool because that's something that's not spoken about. Like, a lot of people are unfortunately overdosing on fentanyl. People like Mac Miller or things like that. It's just tough. It's just really tough. Just the overdose rate, and it's a lot going on in Atlanta as well. We actually just had a recent rapper, Lil Key. He was a part of this group called YSL, and so it's like the lean too, the promethazine. We got all these songs that we rapping on it, but it hurts to know that we're dying, and we're not just dying because of that drink. It's other things that are going on inside. So yeah, I just appreciate this space here.
Yeah, very well said. So how did you come up with your brand, Success Over Suicide? And you can share how deep you want to share, but what kind of inspired that, and what was the motivation to kind of get you started with what you're doing?
Thank you for the question. That's a great question. So like I said, we got to share our story, right? So I'm going to share mine. And so for me, I honestly lost a dear family member to suicide, and that was my aunt. Unfortunately, I remember I was about 19 years old, and I was in college at the time, so I'm really not trying to be at home. I'm really not. I remember I got a phone call that day, and it was my mom telling me to come home, and I'm like, oh, that's the last thing I'm trying to do today. Get home, and she's just weeping, and bawling. And I'm like, Ma, talk to me, what's going on? She's like, she's gone. And I'm like, gone where? Who? Like, your aunt. And I'm like, okay, where'd she go? And so it was almost like a two-part hit, because it was like learning that she wasn't here. So I sat down, and that was like, okay. And I was understanding, okay, she's not here. But then when you found out that she took her life, I was like, okay, that's different. That's a different kind of hit. And just as far as her life, that's what made me realize, because she went to college, she had the car, she had the house, she had the degrees on top of degrees. And the little background on me, I am Jamaican, so I come from the Jamaican culture, and my grandmother was an immigrant. So when she came to America, what do you think all immigrants want to do? They want you to go to school. So my aunt had to keep reaching, keep going and keep going. So that was a part of it. I was like, I thought if you went to school, you were successful. And that's another reason why success is over suicide, because the main thing is, it's not just success on what you look up in the dictionary, it's the success that you create for yourself. That's the main point of the brand, is creating your version of success, not trying to make this person happy, but make yourself happy, and then by default it'll create a domino effect of making those around you happy. So yeah, once I found out that she took her life, unfortunately, that hit me, and it made me think about, okay, college doesn't always make you happy. Being successful, or what they call successful, doesn't make you happy. So what makes you happy? And then that's when I decided to go on I first went on a self-destructive journey. It was tough. It was a lot of pain. It was a lot of trauma. It hurts. When you love somebody, you begin to feel what they feel. You know what I mean? Like, they say suicide is like, I know the person is trying to end the pain. They just want to not feel what they feel, but it's like the person who's close to that or receives it, you start to feel, you just feel all of that pain, especially me being an empath. I can
Yeah.
relate to a lot of people and feel without even trying to feel. And so, yeah, that helped me once I got off my self-destruction journey. It was terrible. I was hanging around with the wrong people, just, I mean, drugs, it was jail, it was terrible. And then finally it hit me on, okay, I need to figure out who I am. And I started to only identify myself. I started to build myself every single day, and create good habits, just getting up every day before this time, or just start creating small habits, to show myself that I was worth it, show myself that I could do it, without looking at all my old accolades, like, because I knew I was trying to make my dad proud of my mom. I was like, no, I'm just going to make myself proud of who I am. And so that's when I went on my self-love journey. I found meditation and yoga. And then I've created the brand Success Over Suicide to make people realize that they can literally rise above suicide, because this life hurts. You know, you get older, you find out news about your family, and you find out you just broke it, you know. So I love just promoting wellness and being able to be resilient through life. So that's how the brand pretty much came about, and why I wear the shirt and why I promote it.
Yeah, resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. I even like the rope. Like I read, by the way, I'm wearing, hold on.
Hey.
But you explain a little bit on your shirt, or on the card, sorry, that your logo,
yeah,
you know, although it's kind of a trigger warning, the whole like rope could symbolize, you know, I forget what they call that. What is it called?
you mean like the news?
The news, thank you. For you, it's like, and you can go ahead and explain it, but like the life's always tug and war type of situation, and, you know, just pulling your strengths out, like ropes symbolize other things that are very, you know, positive. So I like the whole logo and the concept.
Thank you. Shout out to my best friend. That's my best friend with me, Malibu. I remember when the day that we created this brand. It was just a beautiful thing. Yeah, she came up with the rope aspect. I was like, really? I don't think that's so hard. But then she said the tug of war aspect, and I was like, wow, that's so true. And I mean, it made me realize, you got to realize that everybody watching, we have to be our own superheroes. Like I did a live one day, and this person just said, I was like, who's your role model? She was like, I really don't have one. She was like, I'm the person who I needed when I was younger. I became the person I need. So that's the whole, like, even that tug of war. Sometimes it's you reaching down to yourself or reaching up to yourself to pull yourself through whatever you're going through in the moment. Like, there's always another side to it. And it's not death all the time.
No.
It can be a new opportunity. It can be a new beginning. So yeah, the tug of war, I appreciate. Crystal be on it, y'all. Crystal is on it. I don't know if y'all paid attention. Crystal is on it. I appreciate that for real.
No, I like it. Because I didn't expect that twist or spin on it. So only creative minds could think of that. So I have here, you also told on your cards, you have a lot of like statistics, and I'm a big stat person. Speaking of, suicide is, according to, I forget what the heck the website was, but as of 2020, it's the 12th leading cause. I'm putting this in the chat. Leading cause of death. Yeah, as of 2020. So, I mean, if you think about it, there's plenty of reasons why people could leave this earth. So to think that that's like the top, 15, that's, it's happening way too much, and it's way too prevalent. So whether it was 2nd, 3rd, 10th, or 12th, like it's happening. So with that being said, do you want to elaborate on any of the other stats that you had on there? I had the card somewhere, but you had a couple things on there that you pointed out. I don't know if you have them off the top of your head, but just so that the other people can, listen in on some of that stuff.
No, I mean, suicide, the stats on suicide are just ridiculous, honestly. It's heartbreaking. Recently, what I found, because the numbers change every year, and I believe that research was done back in 2017. So recently, what I found is, honestly, men are at the high percentage of suicide. We just had a person, the CEO of MARTA, which is our transportation here in Atlanta. And that's a high position. That's the highest position of the company, CEO. He took his own life.
Wow.
By a MARTA train. And it was devastating to hear that, because I ride the train. I used to ride the train. I used to get around when I was on my self-love journey. I didn't have a car, so I was on the train. And I would hear that some people would jump in front of the train, and that would break my heart because I couldn't fathom it. And so I know men are at the top, unfortunately, as an example, which breaks my heart. And even the LGBTQIA community, those numbers are staggering across the board as far as depression, anxiety. It's my heart breaks when I see that, because being a part of the LGBTQIA community, I feel it. I understand. You walk around and it's hard. People look at you like you're a problem. People look at you like you don't belong. People look at you like an alien. And so to see that impacts people, to make people want to take their life, I'm like, okay, hold on. I know I can't save everybody, but I want the people, if you're watching this and you identify with whatever, like, you belong here. I don't care if somebody lives in the country, lives on space. Listen, if you are alive, you woke up, you belong here, and everybody's not going to see it like that.
Yeah.
The fact that you belong. So those are a few, but were there any stats that you wanted me to talk about specifically?
I think there was one on there. I left it on my nightstand. I'm sorry, or else I'd get up and go get it. But there was one on there about, I think, how many actual suicides take place a year. I think it was over like 20,000 or something. And then there was like an hourly stat, like how many actually happen like on a day-to-day or something like that.
Yeah, I can go get it. Can I go get it real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
That was my way. It's okay. It's gonna be all right.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so if you're listening in, feel free to comment or ask any questions, give some feedback. Tess is just grabbing her little stat card so we can hear a little bit about some statistics.
All right.
Yes, so there was how many took place a year, and then by the day, I was like really surprised.
It was 5 suicides per hour.
5 an hour?
Yeah, 120 per day. 43,800 per year.
Yeah, far too many. So one other one that I wanted to add to that, I did find out that in 2019, men were 4 times more likely to commit suicide than females. So when we think of people like the Mac Millers, right, and there was like a recent Cook, and then Robin Williams, Avicii, one of the biggest DJs in the UK, like you're saying, all these people that love music, they have creative outlets, they're famous, they have what it looks like to have it all, and it tends to be a lot of men. So I often talk about like Brene Brown, who talks a lot about vulnerability, and so there's no coincidence that you know, if men struggle with opening up and sharing and feeling safe with people, that they would kind of like harbor all of that, and then yeah, that stuff builds up, you know, and you don't want to put that burden on anybody else. So it could literally, I said this in a couple lives ago, it could be anybody, your dad, your grandfather, your own son. So just being very like self-aware, like you said, asking questions. Would you, what would your advice be in terms of like getting, I don't want to say like if, let's back up. What would be some signs? Like you said, if it's personal, it hits home. So were there any actual signs looking back that you might want to share that
Yeah.
maybe you're more aware of now that might help people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing that I can say, so many things you just said there.
I know,
So
sorry.
I'm gonna answer the question you just asked and then try to circle it back. So the signs that I saw that I think that come to mind, because that's what happens when suicide happens, or anytime death happens, you try to replay your last interactions with the person. You try to just run it back, like, just try to feel them again. And I do recall my aunt, and I also want to say I took a suicide prevention course, and the first thing that they said was that anybody can save a life. Anybody can save life. You don't have to be this qualified individual. You don't have to be a psychiatrist, a therapist. Just being able to be a person and be able to listen. And even this, what I'm about to tell you, is going to be crazy. Like, even the smallest things that they say, like how simple that was, anybody can save a life. It is just as simple as those phrases that the people who unfortunately take their life, the things that they start to say up into the buildup. I know she used to always say, "What's the point? There's no point." She used to always say that, but I didn't think anything of it. You know, a lot of people say that. But when people start to lose lack of just hope into the future, and it's just constant, it's okay if you don't make a joke, like, okay, but like every time we talk about the future, you don't see yourself, or that's just a very interesting type of mindset. I know I saw a documentary with XXX Tentacion, rest his soul, and it was almost like he knew he wasn't going to be around. He had a baby on the way, and he's a musician, and his manager asked him, like, "Hey man, you excited to be a dad?" He's like, "What are you talking about, man? I'm not gonna be around." And it was just like funny, so I was like, ha, ha, ha. And unfortunately, he didn't die by suicide. He got his life taken. But it's one thing that I want to say is there are very simple things that people are saying when they lose hope, when they start to give away things. That's a sign of, if they're just like giving away everything, or they're not keeping on to like their belongings, they're just starting to or sending farewells. That's another sign. But for my aunt, definitely, I know she's always saying, "What's the point?" She had no vision into the future at all. And I can understand that. I mean, yeah, think about it. To just empathize with that, honestly. I mean, life is tough. You grow up, you think one thing, and then you learn another thing, and then you have to relearn everything, and that can be a lot. It can be a lot. It can be heavy, especially when you don't even have the support of others to help you, when you can't even help yourself. And so, speaking about the first part that you mentioned, though, with the men and not being vulnerable, one thing I realized is like a lot of us don't do shadow work. Have you ever seen the movie Doctor Strange?
Oh my God, I just saw that recently.
Oh, you saw the new one?
Yeah.
Nice. So I oh my God, I gotta watch the second one again. But I love the first one. And I honestly seen it twice, and I need to watch it again. But it just shows you, like, no matter how high up you are, no matter who you are, we all have a dark side to it. There's always going to be a dark side. So if we're not attending to that dark side and we're acting like it's not existent, it's going to keep creeping and creeping on us. So I always encourage people to do shadow work. I hate doing it. I don't like doing it. It makes me cry. It makes me feel bad. But just being able to face those uncomfortable conversations within yourself that you need to have with yourself. Because that's going to allow you to open up, to be vulnerable to yourself, because sometimes we can't even be vulnerable to other people because we're not vulnerable to ourselves. So we don't even trust ourselves to be vulnerable. How are we going to allow other people in to help us? So I always encourage people to be vulnerable with yourself first, be truthful with yourself, forgive yourself. That's that shadow work, getting through all those things that you had to go through, because this life can be very scary. Honestly, life can feel like a nightmare. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't want to get on here and be like, "Oh yeah, everything's always gonna be good." No, life is gonna feel scary sometimes. But just on the other side, life can be a dream. So I think our goal is to get through the nightmare into the dream, and through the nightmare to the dream all the time.
I'm taking notes over here. It's good. So you made some good points. I just put the signs in the chat, and then get into a place of vulnerability within yourself and forgiveness, which is like two of the things that I am really like definitely I feel like they have helped me to heal as well. But Damien in the chat says one of my best friends committed suicide, and we were just chilling with him the day before and had no idea what he was going through.
Mhm.
So he kept a smile and was his normal self, but he obviously had a lot of things that he was dealing with internally.
Yeah, and it was it more?
No, go ahead.
Those are so, that's always, that's the creepy part about suicide, right? You're around it and you don't even know, because that's not something that somebody thinks about that day only. That's something that somebody has been, you got to think about that. Like, that's a very large task and project. Like, that's big. So to know that you've been around that person when they had sort of kind of thoughts or putting it together, it cringes you. You know what I mean? And yeah. Damien, I'm sorry that you lost your friend. Geez Louise. Sorry that he took his life. It wasn't even, that did not even have to be done, but I can only imagine the pain that he just thought he was saving himself from. And one thing I want to start telling the people, Damien, and everybody else listening, and I'm trying to do it too, look in people's eyes. You can see the cry for help. Just, and, some, when you are your friends, like, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. No, hey, how you doing? You okay? Yeah, how's everything at home? How's work? And if they keep, they can't keep eye contact and they're struggling, something's going on. You can see the trouble in somebody sometimes. And of course, it's not obvious, because you got to think about it. If somebody's 30 or 40 or however old, we've had so many years on being this person, right? So this mask is easy. This mask is easy to put on, but like I said, that shadow work, that darkness is still in there swimming. And you can see it sometimes if you just really slow that person down. So that's why sometimes when I'm around people, I know they be like, "Yo, you're a little intense," because I'm like, "Hey, I see you, and I'm looking at you because I want to see, is there, because you know why? You want to know why I do that? What? I need people to do that to me. I need people to see me. I need people to see me when because like I said, we all know how to get up and act like ain't nothing wrong, right? So I want people to see me when I am like, I'm okay. You know what I mean? So it's like being that person that you want. I have a quote that I made up. It's like, know what you deserve and be what you deserve. So if you want respect, if you want love, if you want attention and undivided attention, then you have to show that to yourself first. And then it won't feel so awkward when you're doing it to somebody else. It'll be like, this is what you deserve, man.
It'll come easy,
I deserve this. You know what I mean? So yeah, Damien, try to eye contact with the like friends that you have. Like, really, it doesn't have to be all this like, but just literally looking somebody in the eye, you'll start to feel it. You'll be able to feel it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that. Being that I'm from the counseling world and things like that, like obviously I pick up on body language and all that, stuff that we learn. But aside from all that, I think we all have that gift, like if you just pay attention, and the world makes it so hard to, pay attention in that way, to other people, because we're so like self-absorbed and we have a lot going on ourselves. But I want to like piggyback off of you that if you actually just take the time to pay attention, like you said, we kind of all can activate that gift, like just picking up on little cues, right? Like depression and anxiety is like, what's the word? Like it almost ricochets off people. Like you could feel it. Sometimes, not all the time, right? But it's almost like people they have a cloud, and if you really pay attention and you are an empath, because I definitely am as well, I don't like to ignore that. Like, I don't have to get in someone's face and say like, hey, I'm a counselor. Like, it's not about that, but it's just like, we're all human. So if, that connection, you could feel that energy or that spirit, I guess you could call it. And it's better just to like, let somebody know, like, if you need anything, I might not be the person to help you, but like, I know who could,
And that's why I love, and I'm like, an advocate for self-awareness, because the more that you are aware of yourself, you'll just naturally start to feel other people. So I realized I was very numb. I was very blind and I was very desensitized before I became my self-love journey. I really wasn't looking for people. I was just very ego based, and just, I don't know, I wasn't for people. I didn't have the awareness of myself to see myself in a world of other people who were experiencing the same thing that I was. So that self-awareness is really that like key for me, that helped me be able to feel other people a little bit more and just have like that spidey sense on something's not right. You can just tell when somebody walk in the room sometimes, you'll be like, ooh, And not everybody's gonna look back. You know, you might maybe be 10 people in the room, only one person like that person, not everybody's gonna catch it, but if you're aware, you can just feel it. I mean, think about animals. A couple they don't speak at all, but like we have these same instincts. And the thing that breaks my heart is that all of these answers are in plain sight. That's what's really, really hard. Like knowing, like he said, he saw his friend a day before, it was in plain sight. So that's why it just shows like, it's something that we have to start, not saying it's on anybody's fault at all, but that just shows like us, like I want to be more connected with the world within me. So that way I can be connected with the world that's around
me. Yeah, no, well said. So let's see, I had a few more things if you don't mind. We're doing okay with time. We have like 20 minutes if that's cool.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Like y'all, can we get some love for Crystal, man? I'm sorry, Crystal. You just a bomb. You always you showing so much love. I just gotta show my love for you because I just appreciate how much you just put on, for us, like, and for everybody who's watching. Like she does so much work behind the scenes, I'm sure. So I just appreciate you, Chris, because you don't have to do this. Like, wow. I mean, I just want to let you know you are appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. That feels good to hear. I got some hearts in the chat, so thank you. So I was gonna say, you did mention like some signs if we pay attention and some common things we should be aware of. So that was all really, really spot on. My next question is, what would you say, and you could have several, but you could, for now, I'll just ask for one. What would be the biggest misconception that is out there regarding or surrounding suicide? And what would you say to refute it?
I like that question. And I gotta let people know this isn't a keg. This is water, y'all. It's a gallon. It's a gallon of water. I know, y'all. I'm about to figure out, it's a gallon of water. But okay, let me see. One of the misconceptions.
I have one too. I'm gonna share after you.
Okay. Ooh, that's a big one. One of the misconceptions. One thing that I always hear, I know one time I wanted to teach a yoga class and I wanted to bring yoga and suicide prevention, mental wellness together. And at the time I wasn't a yoga instructor. So I would reach out to people in my city, like, hey, can you come and teach yoga? Like, cause yoga has saved my life, my friends. Yoga, like find your type of yoga. And I tell you, oh my goodness, I'm not even, the yoga is amazing. But this one instructor, she immediately said no. And I was like, what? Why? Oh no, I can't. Those people who are struggling with suicide, they need professional help. And I get it. I'm not even gonna disagree. I'm not even gonna say, she's wrong. I'm not here to be that person and show that narrative. But that's a misconception to me, as far as just automatically thinking that these people are, they have to get professional help, or you just have no impact. You have no way to impact this person at all. And so that's something that I can't get over, because I've heard somebody share a story when they actually attempted suicide. And right before they attempted suicide, he was literally walking, and this lady came up to him and asked him that he thought it was hope. He was just hoping in his heart that somebody would just see a grown man crying and stop him. If he's walking in the middle of the street, you would think somebody like, sir, you okay? And thankfully, this lady, you would think she stops him, and you would think that she asks him, hey, are you all right? But instead she asks him to take a picture. So, but that, if she would have asked him, hey, are you okay? Hey, I see you. Come with us, man. Hold on. Wait. He was he wanted to be seen in that moment. That's all he wanted to be. He just wanted to be seen. And so that's the misconception. It's like a lot of us, we don't realize the importance of just being there. We feel like, oh, that person needs professional, this and this. And yes, that may be true. But at the same time, you have a part in it. And I think that's important. I know for me, I had a car accident like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'll never forget. I was literally sitting in my driver's seat, and it was like the airbag came in my face, and I was just sitting there. And a person from opposing traffic stops his car and pulls me out. And I'll never forget him. He didn't stay. He said, "Yeah, you gotta get out the car. I don't know if it's gonna blow up, nothing." But he stopped in the middle of traffic to pull me out. And like, just thinking about that makes my heart feel. It makes me want to just, because this is when you see somebody else, and when somebody just sees you like at your lowest, that naturally starts to build you back up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's how I refute it. Like being able to see people at their lowest, you will be so surprised how just you being able to see them is naturally starting to build them and build them back to stand up on their own. So that's how I answer that.
That's really accurate. I 110% agree. Just because you're not a professional does not mean you cannot help. I would say my biggest throughout the years, I've worked with people both in and outside of treatment. It's that you're weak or selfish, right? Like you hear that, like they're just weak or they're just selfish. How could they? So I could see how people would think or feel that. But I just have here just as a perspective thing that even myself personally dealing with thoughts like that at a certain low in my life, it's not too far from you, like it's more common than we think to in passing be like, what's the point? Or, what if I wasn't here? Or, and so I think depending on the magnitude, some people wouldn't classify that as being suicidal, but it's very common to have those passing thoughts, right? So I have on here that when somebody has is constantly tormented, we don't know what that's like unless we're actually in their shoes, right? The feeling of being tormented, whether it's by your thoughts, depression, anxiety. So just understanding that there are depths to mental illness, and we might not ever relate in the same way as somebody else, but just acknowledging that everybody has a different process and how they like cope with that. And for some, they just rather not, and it doesn't make it okay, but that's just, people's preference, and we don't know what that feels like all the time. So yeah.
Can I add that too?
Go ahead.
So I also heard I love that because I've heard somebody, I love this quote too, sort of because I used to feel like that. I'm not gonna lie, when it happened to us, I was like, or to our family, I was like, oh man, like, I'm selfish. You can't, grief is tough, right? You go through moments of anger, you go through moments of love, sadness. So during my moment of anger with it, I was like, yeah, that was very selfish. But then I heard this quote and it made me realize, and it was like, suicide is not an issue of the person, it shows an issue of the culture. And that made me, blow myself away. Same thing that's going on. I definitely support with LGBTQ and also being a Black African American. I know when there's a lot of protests and looting, people are like, oh my God, they're breaking in the Fendi store. Oh my God. And they're terrible, but we're not going to look at the problem. We're not going to look at what caused it. We're going to look at the reaction. So I feel like it's a reaction.
Yeah.
And so we got to get down to what's the cause. And that's us. That's the culture. That's all of us. We all have to take ownership in this. That people are willing to check out rather than be here and be with us. So yeah, I'm taking ownership, and I definitely take it personally on this topic.
Yeah. So that's definitely a misconception. I have 2 more quick questions for you, and then we can wrap up. And I want you to be able to tell people too how to find you and how to get some shirts to support. So we'll save time for that. But how can we destigmatize the whole stigma of suicide? Like, what would you say is a way to do that? I know it's a hard question. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good one. I want to be authentic with my answer as far as like what would I love to see? What would be great? Well, one to start is definitely the shirts. These shirts opened so many doors. I was in Walmart one day and this lady just came up to me crying. She just cried. She gave me a hug. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's literally the barriers that we're breaking. It's not even like hiding anymore. We're just automatically family. With people, she's like, I was going through it. I got daughters, and seeing your shirt just now made me realize how much I did succeed. It opens up the conversation because nobody is talking about it, honestly. So that's something I definitely recommend. And I love just having, you know how the red table talks, how they have, just
Yeah.
having more conversations with your family. It's uncomfortable, trust me, I know. I was recently talking to my mom and I was like, oh man, I do not want to hear this. I do not want to, but some of those uncomfortable conversations are needed. So I encourage people to have more of those uncomfortable conversations with your parents. Have those conversations with your siblings or your cousins, whoever was involved in that traumatic experience. I encourage you to destigmatize talking about pain and being vulnerable, because that's where it all stems from. Like suicide is a reaction, it's not necessarily the cause. And if we get back and we peel it back a little bit more, we talk about the vulnerability. So let's work on being more vulnerable with each other. But first, being able to do that with ourselves. So facing ourselves in the mirror, facing our own insecurities. I work through my own insecurities. I work through my own doubts every single day. They're not going to just automatically peace out. So it's about you having that muscle to be like, nope, we're not doing that today. Hey, anxiety, how you doing? Hey, depression, I see you over there. Depression, we're trying to figure it out. I know we still need to get the things we're supposed to get, but we working through it. So that's where that awareness comes in. So then it'll allow you to be more vulnerable with other people to have those conversations. So I think these conversations is what is going to destigmatize suicide, because unfortunately, just like you, when I heard people like Robin Williams, when I tell you, I was like, huh? Like, that's the only time I hear the word suicide is every night, it's just, we got to have more substance in between those gaps, so we can, maybe if somebody's thinking about it, they're not alone anymore. And maybe they can think longer and be like, okay, no, I really don't want to do this. It's just the pain I want to get out of me. It's not like I hate me, you know what I mean? So that's something that I definitely highly encourage, is to be more vulnerable with the people that you love.
I would say quickly for me would be that it shouldn't be as shameful to talk about it if it's something that you feel like you're going through or that somebody else is going through, because more people relate than we think, right? So like, I'm sure, people who see me online or who know not the personal side of my life would never imagine that I experienced that myself, right? But I opened up about it and I'm like, wow, I never knew that. So you never know the people that you're dealing with, working with, in relationship with, that they have experience with it and can maybe hopefully walk you through it. So never feel ashamed to talk about it. So lastly, do you have any advice for anyone right now outside of every awesome thing that you shared, that you would like to kind of wrap up with, before we get into like how to find you and whatnot? Any last words?
Well, yes, for sure. So if I can, I would like to do just like a short breathing exercise. With you all. Yeah, just something that's helping me. I do if I ever experience like a panic attack, because sometimes life is a lot, and you'll look up and stuff is just upside down, and it's a lot to take in. So if people are comfortable, I recommend just close your eyes and just feel your heartbeat. Breathe normally. Feel the shirt on your body. Feel the air that's around you. Take a deep inhale, fill up, and slowly breathe out. Take another deep inhale, expand your belly this time. Slowly breathe out. This one's going to be slightly different. Take another deep inhale, hold it at the top. Take another inhale and release. When you're ready, open your eyes. So I always recommend just coming back to your breath, coming back to your heart. which lets you come back to your purpose, because there's going to be a lot of external things flying around you, feeling like it's a tornado. And then you're going to start to define yourself with what's going on the outside without remembering who you are on the inside. So I always recommend just coming back to your breath and slowing down for you before you interact with another person. Sometimes people can try to take over how you feel, or make you feel like, tell you how to feel. And just so you know how you feel, take that moment for yourself.
No, I love that. You just reminded me, it was something I did a lot when I was doing direct care. I love just deep breathing. We called it like diaphragmatic breathing. But I would use that app that basketball player, it's called Calm. Is it LeBron James? We would use that and go through the guided meditation. So yeah, deep breathing for sure. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So we're wrapping up here. Lastly, if you guys care to know this, I'm only saying this real quick because somebody asked me on another call about depression. Like, what do you guys do in the clinical world for, like, how do you know, or like, what do you do to measure it? Like, you know, because we throw around symptoms all the time. But just in case people were interested to know, for suicide, we do like screeners in the therapy world, where if you answer yes a certain amount of times to experiencing suicide for, you know, a duration or frequency, whether that's 30 days, every day, how long, if you have a plan, like there's all these screening questions. And then they do it like throughout your treatment so that the numbers obviously decrease, but it's on a scale of how severe and how prevalent the thoughts are. And so if you're somebody, this is just a disclaimer, that actually has a plan or it is more frequent for you, there are mandated reporters. So I just need everyone to kind of know that, because if you're going to hurt yourself or possibly somebody else, people literally are like, their jobs are on the line to have to report that. God forbid something were to happen, right? So we also have something called like a 302 in Pennsylvania. I don't know if they do that in Atlanta, but like, if you are a threat to yourself or somebody else, we can involuntarily bring you into treatment. So it's like a mandate to make sure that you receive some kind of help. But I know that's all like clinical jargon, but I just wanted everyone to know that like there are precautions being taken based on how people answer things. And not that you're gonna get in trouble for the way that you share on them, but we do take it very seriously. And a lot of people I know have gotten help that way, if that makes sense.
No, that's amazing. Sometimes it's just, you know, there's always a cry for help. It's always a cry for help. So thank you all for doing that. That's very needed.
So where can people find you, and how do we support the cause in terms of like your brand and shirts and things like that?
Okay, cool. And before I get into all that, I want people to know today is Friday and it's important to celebrate. And yes, Crystal said we ain't here. So one thing I like to celebrate, one thing I'm working on celebrating is change. Something that brings frustration, something that makes us cringe sometimes. It's something that makes us depressed. So when we're not able to just accept, we're always arguing with life, right? It feels like we're going back and forth with life. But there is a saying in a poem that I read. It says, allow me to accept life as it is and not as I would have it. And so I want everybody just to take something away, that the change that is happening in your life is here to build you and not destroy you. And yes, it may break you down for a little bit, but it may be a minor setback or a major comeback. All right. So keep that in mind. If there's any change that you're going through, don't build up any self-hate, any anger, because that anger turns into depression. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Embrace what's going on in your life. I promise you, you're gonna look up one day and be like, I'm so glad I did that. All right. And so that's that. And as far as me being able to find me, I am on IG as Tess, TES_speaks, SPEAKS. That's where you can find me on TikTok too. And I'm Tess on not Instagram, I'm on YouTube. And I'm also on not TikTok, Twitter. So Tess Speaks everywhere, TES_speaks. And my website is tessspeaks.com. So it's just TESSPEAKS.com. And if you're looking for shirts, success over suicide. It's successoversuicide.com. That's where you can
Successoversuicide.com. I put that in the chat too, and your logo popped up, so that's cool.
Ooh, nice.
I also have here, because I feel pressed to do it, the suicide hotline.
Yes.
I always give out this number, God forbid. Keep it in your phone, like you never know. I have people DM me with stuff all the time, like I'm not even kidding. So have it on hand.
Wow.
And then I also have the one specific to my state. I'm just gonna put it in there anyway, PA.
Okay.
3457. And lastly, there was a comment in here from Emily, who is my girl, where I don't even know where the heck it went. I think I pinned, hold on a minute. Okay, so she said, this is reality and it's not talked about enough. I love what you stand for. So that was a shout out.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I really appreciate your time, and I'm really glad we did this. You're welcome on my lives whenever you want to come on. So yeah, I'm gonna post this to my YouTube channel. Again, this is Katie Cochin. You can find me on YouTube, just under Crystal DeFeo, my first and last name. But I'm gonna post the video there. I'll make sure you get a copy of it too, and just blast it on social media. And I'm pretty sure somebody listening, will obviously get something out of it. So, all right.
Take care.
All right, take care. Bye.